Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm so sorry I'm a little bit later than I usually am. We had some appointments this morning and it took a little longer than I thought. So real quick, while everybody's popping on, let me make sure that we have sound working, that you can see me okay. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, if you're just joining me, welcome. And I would love to know who you are. So please leave me a comment in the comment box of who you are, where you're watching from, and what you're working on this fall. Are you excited for all the holidays coming up? It's time to start working on those Christmas projects and definitely start finishing up all those fall projects so you can start displaying those fun quilts and using them. So we have a fun Christmas class starting this Tuesday called Vintage Christmas, and we are using Lori Holt's Vintage Christmas book, which is right here in front of me. Isn't that adorable? Look at those cute blocks. So we're not going to tackle the entire quilt in this class. We're going to just focus on 4 blocks, 1 per week pretty much. This is an 8-week in-person class, but we also have an online version that is all pre-recorded. You can work at your own pace. It's so much fun. So we're going to focus on those 4 so that you learn the pattern and learn how to do the techniques that Lori Holt shows in her books. Then you can tackle the remaining blocks on your own at a later time, and you will have the confidence to be able to do that. Her blocks are fairly simple to put together and really fun, even though they look really complicated. So say, for example, this gingerbread block. I mean, how adorable is that? So cute and so much fun, but it looks complicated, right? It's not. If you just take it step by step, it'll break it down and you'll have this finished quilt block before you know it. I've seen even pretty new beginner quilters work on this quilt pattern and be able to do it just amazingly. So as long as you know how to turn your sewing machine on and sew a straight stitch, you can do this pattern. And I would love for you to join us. Registration ends on Saturday, this Saturday, September 11th. So make sure that you go click that link that's in the description box and learn more to sign up. I am going to be adding a payment plan link in there as well. So if the payments are out of your price range, but you can do the payment plan, then great. I hope that helps you. So this class starts on Tuesday. You can choose in person or online. The online is all pre-recorded. Work at your own pace. Watch it whenever you want to. You can watch it at midnight or first thing in the morning or whenever you have time to sit down and quilt. They're simple, broken down into individual steps, so you can just watch the cutting steps of how to cut out all the blocks and how to get your fabric all organized. And then there's videos on how to do all the piecing, and then you're going to learn how to do the quilting all by yourself. So there's 2 options in our online version. There's the free motion quilting on a domestic sewing machine for beginners. So you'll learn some pretty easy beginner techniques on how to do free motion quilting. So if that's something that you've been wanting to tackle and learn how to do, this is a great class to be able to do that in. And bonus, you'll have some Christmas blocks already done. And then we're going to be turning these Christmas blocks into placemats. Oh, back up. There's another version. If you don't want to do free motion quilting, if that's like, whoa, that's way too intimidating, I can't do that. There's going to be a different walking foot quilting, or you can even just use an open toe foot if you don't have a walking foot on your machine. So I'm going to show you exactly how to put these together, finish them, bind them. You'll learn all of those techniques, and then you'll be able to use those techniques in other quilts that you make. So you'll have the confidence to finish a quilt that you'll be proud of. So I hope that you'll join me for this class, and the registration ends on Saturday, and the link is in the description box. So anyway, today is tips and tricks, and I thought instead of resetting up my studio, because I wanted to show you how to baste your quilt yourself. If you're doing like a baby size quilt or even up to a king size quilt, this technique will help you be able to do the quilting on your own, and you'll be able to baste it quickly and easily. I don't do hand basting anymore because I have a longarm machine, so it helps me be able to just to throw all the layers on there and do that. But before I got the longarm, I would do all of my quilts, all of my clients' quilts with my domestic sewing machine by hand. So you can do this too. And I've done all sizes of quilts in my domestic sewing machine. Now, I do have a pretty large throat to my sewing machine, so that is helpful, but it's not necessary. I did it on my little tiny brother machine before that as well. So it is definitely worth checking out. So I'm going to load that video up here real quick. So while it's playing, I'd love to hear from you. So leave me a comment in the comment box. I see Lisa is here from Texas. Thanks for joining me, Lisa. And if you're watching too, please leave me a comment. I'd love to know who you are and where you're watching from. So actually, real quick, let me see what her name was. I'm sure I'm going to butcher her name. Eduarda Chi. She commented on one of our videos on YouTube and asked for this tutorial. So this is for you, Eduarda. And if you have something that you're tackling with quilting and you're just having a hard time with it, let me know, because that helps me figure out what kind of videos to make for you guys so that I can help you in your quilting journey. Because if I'm just making videos willy-nilly and they're not helpful to you, then that's not helpful for me either. So let me know what it is you're struggling with in your quilting journey, and I would love to make a tutorial video if I can to help you. So here is that video. Hello everyone, and welcome to this video on how to baste your quilt. So before I got my long arm, I had to baste my quilt by hand, and I have seen several different tutorials on how to do this, and I tried a lot of them. And so I'm going to show you the way that worked best for me. Now, if you know me, I've had a lot of back surgeries, and crawling around on the floor is kind of difficult for me, especially when you're trying to baste a huge quilt. So I have found some ways to help get that quilt off the floor and up onto the table so that I can baste it on the table. Now, yes, I forgot to grab one more thing. So let me grab that here real quick. But I want to show you a couple of the tools that I use to help me with this. So one was straight pins. So I used to use really long straight pins. These are flower pins. They're really long, so they're helpful to get into all those layers of the quilt and back out again. And when I did this, of course, I would poke myself a bazillion times. So I found a product called Pin More. They're just little silicone kind of rubbery tips. They almost look like a little tiny eraser. And they just go on top of that needle to help protect the point of the needle. So those were great, but they tend to fall off pretty easily. And so it would fall off and I would still get scratched while I was trying to free motion quilt my quilt on a domestic sewing machine. So that's when I went to curved safety pins. So these are easy to get in and out of the quilt, and you're not going to poke yourself because they're all sealed, but they have a little bit of a bend to them, so it's easy to get through all those layers and have it sit on top of your quilt. So that's what we're going to use today. I have also tried spray basting my quilt, and that's great for a really small project, but really large projects, it got frustrating trying to get all those layers straight and smooth and the wrinkles out. I've seen some other tutorials that might work better. I've seen one where this gal sprayed it outside, and then she was able to lay it all out on her design wall like this and spread it all out and get it all flat. So maybe we'll have her as a guest instructor someday. But for now, let's just learn how to baste it this way, and we'll get you going with quilting for now. Another helpful tool that I love to use are these fun clamps. So go to Home Depot, Menards, whatever, get these big, huge clamps, and they will help keep your quilt top straight and wrinkle-free so that you can get everything basted really square and flat, because that was the biggest challenge, right? When you're trying to baste a quilt by hand, is how do you get rid of all those puckers? And so these were really helpful on that. I have seen some people do tutorials on how to do it on the floor, where they will tape the quilt back to their tile or their hardwood floor so that it stays nice and flat and straight, and then they'll get their quilt top and batting and all that on top of that and pin it together. The only problem with that I would see is that you don't want to scratch your floor with the pins, and so you would have to have a self-healing mat kind of moving along the bottom of that while you're pinning it, which we're going to do with the table as well. And then of course you're going to need your batting and your backing. So I am using some of these collapsible tables that are just foldable, but to get them raised up, I'm going to take one of the legs apart here. My handy dandy husband went to Home Depot or whatever and found some PVC pipe and had it cut so that my table could be raised to countertop height. So super easy, pretty inexpensive way to get your tabletops to raise up so that you're not having to bend over. So if you have some of these tables or something that you could use some PVC pipe, then that's an easy way to do it. Of course, there are table raisers that you can buy on Amazon or whatever, and that's an easy, fun way to be able to get your table at countertop height as well. This is going to help save our backs so that we're not having to bend over so far. So let me get this put back under my leg and we'll get basting. Okie dokie. So let me switch the camera view here so you can see what we're going to do. All right, so I have my backing and my batting here. So I'm going to put my backing fabric right side down. And if you have two of these tables and want to put them together, that's even better so that you can get a really large quilt basted quickly. But I'm just going to start on one end and make sure you can kind of see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to take one end of my backing fabric and I'm going to clamp it down to the table with one of my clamps. And then on the other end, I'm going to spread it out so it's nice and flat. And of course you would want to iron your fabric first. Make sure there's no wrinkles in there. Okay, and then I've got that all squared away. Then I'm going to go to the other side and smooth it out and clamp it down. And then smooth this out and clamp it down on this side. That way I have no wrinkles. I mean, you can see wrinkles because I didn't iron this first. I was being lazy. But if I was doing this for real, I would iron it first. And then I'm going to put my batting on top and get it smoothed out. You may or may not need to clamp your batting down as well, depending on what kind of batting you're using. But this one, it should be able to stick pretty well. We'll just get it smoothed out. Okay. And then I have a t-shirt quilt here that I'm working on. So I'm going to lay that out on it. And you want your backing and your batting to be a little wider than your quilt. So I'm laying it out so that I can see some of the batting and backing, and then I'm going to just smooth it down. So we get all those wrinkles out. Of course, I'm working with a t-shirt quilt because that's what I'm used to making all the time. Okay, and then we're going to take those curved safety pins and just pin it every few inches or so. So I'm going to start on this end. And if you would want to not ruin your table, you'll want to put a self-healing mat underneath your quilt and then move that along with you as you're trying to pin it. But I just start at the top here. Some people start in the middle and work their way out, but I found that it's just as easy, as long as your backing doesn't need centered, to start on one end and work your way across. So once we get one row done, then we'll jump down and put a safety pin about a hand's width away in the middle of them. And then just keep doing that. So you're going to have a bazillion safety pins everywhere, but it's going to be nice and smooth and straight. So you can free motion quilt this on your domestic sewing machine. Isn't that great? So easy peasy way to do it, and you're not having to bend over to kill your back with the table raised up like this. If you're not able to do that, you could try doing this on your countertop. If it has a ledge big enough for you to be able to put those little clamps on there to hold your backing tight. And then if you needed to just move your quilt up once you've got it all basted, then you would just move this whole section down and then reclamp it so that everything's tight. Make sure all the wrinkles are out, and then just keep going with that process until you have your entire quilt basted. So there you go. Now you know how to baste your own quilt. I hope that that was helpful for you, and I can't wait to see what kind of quilts that you're making and basting. Show us pictures in our Facebook page or send me an email. I would love to see how you baste your quilts and if this was a helpful tutorial for you. So we'll see you in the next lesson where we're going to be starting all the quilting process. So make sure you check out all those videos. We'll see you later. Bye. Alrighty, so there you go. That's how I baste my quilts. And as you heard at the end of that video, we have more tutorials that are in our academy. So that video came from our academy showing you how to baste a quilt. And then within our academy, we show you almost every step there is in quilting. And we just keep adding more and more videos as we go. So that academy actually opens October 7th, as you see in the description box. So make sure you mark your calendars for that. And we'll be making a block of the month type program, but we're going to be doing a lot more than just a month. So I hope that you'll be able to join me for that. But first, join me for the vintage Christmas class that we start on this Tuesday. And the registration link is in the description box, so you can look at it there. So let's see what's in the comment box. Hey, Jennifer, thanks for joining. And Starla, yes, curved pins are the best. They are so helpful and so much less painful. It's because they don't poke you. Alrighty. One other announcement is we have that long arming special going on until the middle of October, or until all the slots are filled, and we only have 6 slots left. So if you need your quilt long armed, we are doing a special for 20% off everything. So if you need backing fabric, batting, squaring, binding, all those finishing services are 20% off right now, and free thread. So just contact us and we'll get you on the books. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I would love to see what projects you're working on. So go to our show and tell page and show us what you're working on there. Take a picture and you can post it there. And if you're ever having any trouble, or you have questions about quilting, or you're brand new to this and you wonder what all these terms and things are, make sure you comment or post in that page as well, and we'll help you out there. So, alrighty, well, we'll talk to you guys later, and I hope to see you on Tuesday. Bye.